Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. My name is Salvador Briggman, and today we're talking about how to put together a killer campaign page on WeFunder. However, you can also apply some of the stuff I'm going to be covering today to other platforms out there like Start Engine, like Republic.co, like Seed Invest. And if you're not familiar with what these websites are, they are equity crowdfunding sites similar to Kickstarter, except other people out there can actually invest in your company. With Kickstarter, people are pre-ordering a product and they're handing over their cash for that. With this, people are actually investing in your campaign, investing in your company, and they're micro investors in that way. Okay, let's get right into it. Again, my name is Salvador. Thank you, and thank you for joining this channel. So the campaign I have up here is called Invest This Way Global. It's an AI matching platform that increases talent, diversity, and removes bias. So these guys are doing a regulation crowdfunding campaign. They've already hit their max, which is at the time I'm recording this, $1,070,000. It might be raised in the future. They got about 1,000 investors, $100 investment minimum. This is all happening via a convertible note, which you can see here. And you can also read a little bit more about that. That basically can convert into equity at a certain point in time. And you can see their valuation cap here. And also we can get a little bit more into the specifics. But what I wanted to first talk about is the page of what you're seeing. The very first thing that you're going to see with this page is the title and is this sort of tagline, if you will. This is going to be the first thing that investors see in addition to this particular video. So if we're just going to quickly play this video, you're going to learn a little bit about what this product is, who the founder is, the basis behind the company, why is this thing made. So what we're seeing here is basically a talking head video where she's talking to the video camera, and editing is done here on the right in order to show some stuff like some stats, some data, kind of telling a little bit of the story, telling about the way in which this product is used, the benefits coming from many different people, investors, that kind of stuff. This would be a pretty decent format, I'd say, for when it comes to the pitch video. It is very high polished. Sometimes high polished is good. Sometimes it's a little bit too inauthentic and not really organic necessarily. So it kind of varies depending on the type of product that you have and also your customer base, right? And who it is that you're trying to reach. One of the things that I do like about this is there's really good integration between the actual talking head component and then sharing a little bit of the vision and kind of the compelling story behind it, right? So it does a good, I think, of blending some of those kinds of things. There could definitely be some improvements here with this video. Well, it's around 3 minutes, which is what I would recommend. 2.5 to 3 minutes is a pretty good thing here when it comes to the duration. You can also see this thumbnail here where it's really highlighting some of the major point here, where this is something that solves a certain problem, which is bias when it comes to hiring. The other things you're going to see here are this little quote, the founder. There's this thing with newspapers way back in the day, they call it above the fold, right? And above the fold is just the information that's most salient to the reader, where if you fold a newspaper, you're not going to see the stuff that's on the bottom, right? So you want to have the most important stuff at the top, and that's what's called top of fold when it comes to marketing, and it goes back to actually an old newspaper term. So the top of fold, the biggest things that people are going to see are the number of reasons why someone might want to invest. And these are just kind of like the bullet points, like the nuggets of why is this thing growing fast? Why is this something to pay attention to? Why should you read more? The idea here with these is to build credibility, to get attention, to get excitement, and to get someone to keep reading. It's not to have the entire pitch, right? Obviously right here. It's just to snag attention, to generate interest, and to get someone to keep reading. You can also see that this particular project has a lead investor, which is very common when it comes to equity crowdfunding campaigns. So a lead investor here, and you can see some of the reasons why other people have invested in this particular project. You can click see more if you want to, and that would populate with even some more reasons why other people are deciding to invest. So this is massive social proof and really good. So just by getting people in the door and investing, you will actually start to generate a lot of social proof. The other thing is you can see how this has been in the news, and you can go and research that. If you're an investor, you can download the actual pitch deck right here, but that's not super, I would say, noticeable. Where my attention tends to be gravitated to is images when it comes to a Kickstarter campaign or when it comes to a WeFunder campaign or an equity crowdfunding campaign. So the first thing you're going to want to have on the page is an image which really succinctly describes or explains what is the major benefit or what is the big promise, right? So the big promise is job applicants ranked and scored in seconds without bias. That's a very succinct promise. If you've ever listened to any of my other videos before, you'll know I talk a lot about promises because marketing is all about promises. Marketing and sales is all about promises. And they've done that exactly the way that I describe in my format or my book, Equity Crowdfunding Explained, which is available on Amazon and also on Audible. They go into then also a little bit of the credibility here. So where was this thing featured, essentially? What are some of the people that are talking about it? And then it gets into, again, some testimonials. So like this is a good testimony here from the co-founder telling a little bit about what it does, right? You could also do testimonials of customers or other investors if you want to here. But high focus, I would say, on graphical imagery because that's what's going to snag people's attention and going to gravitate when it comes to the page. So the way that a person might browse this page is they're going to be scrolling down and they're going to be looking at some of the stuff and something's going to grab their attention. So like maybe this will grab my attention and I'll read a little bit more of the text and I'll read a bit of a text here. I'm not just going from the very top and reading from left to right and going down the entire page that way. A more traditional way of reading is to scroll and decide what you want to read. Then you go back and you actually read that thing, right? You might do this also when you're scanning a site. You kind of just scan it a little bit first and then you go to the site, the section that most interests you, the question you have, and then you're going to read it. So for me, I want to learn about like how it works more so. So I'd probably scroll more to that section, or you might even know about the diversity, why that's important, right? So you might scroll to that. At a certain point in time, after you've educated a tiny bit about the high levels of what the product is and what it does, you're going to have to get into the actual acceleration of the company and the growth of the company, because that's what someone is investing in, right? They're investing in a company out of the perceived notion that's going to grow really quickly, and with more money, they can grow the company even faster. So you can see some here, some sales projections. Graphs are always good. As an econ major, I will tell you this, a lot of graphs are BS. A lot of math is BS, but it's very helpful when it comes to understanding progression and momentum. So from these graphs, if you take away nothing else, you're taking away the simple fact that there is traction and that it's growing quickly, right? It's growing fast. You can see that just by very quickly, looking at this, you can say, okay, so sales are growing. So it looks like there's growth that is happening. The projected ARR, you can see there, annual run rate of what that is. That's really important when it comes to these graphs and these different things. Now, it talks a little bit also about like the actual marketplace, which is obviously important to hit when it comes to your slide deck if you're approaching investors, or when it comes to your equity crowdfunding campaign. Talks a little bit about the progression here, some of the other investors and people that are participating, and that is pretty much it. You can also go into more like the details of the FAQs, like how do you make money, and they can talk a little bit about that, or are you involved in litigation? These kinds of questions that they might fill in as they go if they get more and more questions from investors, right? And then finally, once someone is sold, let's just say like someone is like, I'm really interested. This looks really cool. Looks like a good management team. They're growing pretty quickly. They're in a big market. There's no reason why they can't be more successful. Once someone is at the point where they're making a decision, then what ends up happening, it's kind of interesting the way human brain works, right? So the way it happens initially is people don't want to do very much work, mental work. People do not like doing mental work. I cannot stress this enough. So what they do is they browse and they skim and they're like looking around. And once they get emotionally hooked on a page like this, then they start to get excited and they start to get curious and they start reading, right? Once they're getting closer to a decision point, their brain has identified, okay, I want to make a decision here, a serious decision of whether or not I'm going to invest in order to move forward. Emotionally, I want to invest in this thing. I'm already sold. I want this. But there's like, if you're flying down the highway, right, your brain also has the ability to hit the brake. Or if it's going up against a traffic light, right? It has the ability to hit the brake. And the brake is kind of logic, the logical know-how of whether or not this is a good investment. So you're first starting with emotions, what these guys did here. You're first starting with emotions and credibility in order to get attention, get curiosity, get someone sold on the actual idea, the company, the fact that it's growing and it's in a big market. Then you're supporting this with logic when it comes to nitty-gritty questions that people might have to have answered before they make that buying decision, getting into the financials, right? So from January 1st to December 31st, you can see what their revenue was. You can see what their net loss was, their short-term debt when it comes to their income, what their balance sheet is, what the narrative is. You would be starting to look at this more closely when you are very soon to make a decision, because you're not going to, as a normal person, normal people don't like to think very much, and you're only going to start to really look through these numbers once you're ready to make a decision, ready to process all of this information, right? So this is really the last thing. You can also download this if you want to see some of the financials and also some of the kind of disclosures here when it comes to the risks. As a creator, you're going to be filling in all of this information before you go live on WeFunder, and you also have to file your Form C with the Securities and Exchange Commission. And this happens after you actually submit your application essentially to WeFunder. If you have any questions about that, you can always book a one-on-one coaching call with me, and we can go intensively through an hour-long process of, is this a good fit for you? Should you be doing this? What are the next steps? What do you got to know? Do you have enough clout? How much do you think you can raise? Like all that kind of stuff. I can pretty much go through that, and hopefully you can have a clearer sense going forward. But this is all going to be filled out, and this is really the nitty-gritty information in terms of past equity raises, convertible notes, etc. So this is all like the supporting information, so that someone can say to themselves, you know what, I feel good about making a decision. This sounds like a sound decision logically. I'm excited about it. I'm sold on the idea. It's a growing industry. It's a growing marketplace. All the boxes are checked. And most importantly, if someone else, like a family member, someone's wife, someone's husband, someone else asks, why did you invest in that company? They have a reason, right? They can say, and they can back it up with financial. So they don't feel stupid. They don't feel like they're making a dumb decision. The brain will check itself. It kind of slams on the brakes until they determines it's a good decision to make based on these kinds of metrics. Once it decides that, then it's like, okay, let's go all full speed ahead. I'm going to invest, and there's $100 minimum with this particular one. Kind of like with public companies, you can see really interesting data as well, like how much money they're putting towards marketing. They're putting about $100,000 towards marketing when they're raising here. When they upgrade it to $1,070,000, you see that 40% is actually going into marketing of this overall amount that they're raising. You can see what their operational cost is, how much on R&D, and also WeFunder's 7.5% fee. I really like WeFunder because they also don't take a percentage of the company, which a lot of other equity crowdfunding campaign platforms do in this industry. They're just charging a simple fee in the same way that Kickstarter might, which is one of the reasons why I really have a preference for WeFunder for many of the entrepreneurs that I work with. But hopefully this gave you an idea of just a bare bones kind of template, if you will, to draw inspiration from when putting together a project like this. Now, if you're in the audience and you're like, dude, I don't know how to do that, I need to hire that out. I need a little bit of help with this. Maybe I can pull it off myself. I'm not exactly sure. Or you want to do other stuff. Like these guys don't have any reward tiers. You could offer reward tiers if you want to. You could actually do that. And if you're interested, you can book a one-on-one coaching call with me, and we can talk about all of that. I also have a great book out there called Equity Crowdfunding Explained, literally one of the biggest first books in this industry. And it has an Audible version, also a paperback version. But before you go, let me show you a really sneaky hack which you can use to gain ideas about marketing when it comes to your project. So this is kind of like behind the scenes. This is a sneaky way to figure out what people are doing online, and I kind of want to share it with you because I think it's very valuable. So first of all, if we were to go and look at their site, I think they have a pretty decent site. The one thing I notice here is they do not have a Facebook pixel installed. Look at that, man. They're not even doing Facebook advertising. That's crazy to me. How are they not retargeting people that come to the site? So many people, so many companies, they were able to raise this amount of money without having a Facebook pixel, right? So they're not doing any kind of retargeting there. What would happen if they had? I'm just really curious about that. So I don't know about their marketing and how that's working. But one of the things I do when it comes to heavily investigating companies is I'll go and I'll check out the platform itself. So if we go and look at this platform, you can see WeFunder. This is their Facebook page. If you go to the right corner here and you go to page transparency and you click see more, right? This is going to give you a lot of really good data when it comes to the page. We can see WeFunder Inc., where this is based. We can see their phone number. We can also see who manages this page, if other people are managing it in some way, the page history, organizations that also manage this page if they're hiring another company to manage this. But the one thing I look at here are ads, right? So you can see and you can go to the ad library and see if a particular company is running any ads. And this is something I would do if you are looking at a campaign that's live right now. You can go into the Facebook ad library and you can actually see whether or not this company is running any ads, and if so, how much is being spent on particular certain things. So this one is just for more of like social disclosure, social issues, elections, and politics. Doesn't look like they're doing that much there. Obviously, I mean, they're not in that industry. But what you can look at is you can look at some of the other companies that are currently raising money and that WeFunder itself is running ads for. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, number one, you'd probably want to draw a little bit of inspiration, right? So here, this is actually this way. This is literally the campaign that we were looking at right now. You can see how they are doing their ads. If I was to draw inspiration from this, I want to run a similar campaign, I'd literally just screenshot that. I'd copy this creative, and I'd have a sense of what that looks like. We can also go more in depth here into the actual ad detail. We could click learn more. We can see what landing page that's going to. We can look at the different versions if there are multiple versions of this ad. If we go back, we can see some of the other projects and how they're doing the verbiage, how they're doing the copywriting. So this is incredible data and resource, right? And kind of one way I think to draw inspiration is to start to do just a little bit of competitive research and see the companies that are raising money on WeFunder, the companies that are raising money on Start Engine, the companies that are raising money on Republic.co and the Seed Invest, some of the major ones that are out there. And this is really good just from an entrepreneurial perspective, but also once you hire someone to help you with this, it's going to be good so they have something to work with. So I hope you enjoyed today's video going over some of the major components of a WeFunder page from more of a over my shoulder kind of perspective, and sharing with you that other resource, which is using Facebook, the ad library, in order to figure out what are the ads other people are running, so you can draw inspiration from that. So many more tools that I could talk about, but I don't want to make this video too long for you. Give me a thumbs up if you found this to be helpful. Come subscribe if you want more videos like this. My name is Salvador Briggman. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.